Federal government tax banks and financial institutions to explore Africa's market expansion enabled by AfCFTA. Nigerian stock market on steroids, waiting off second wave of coronavirus concerns. Afreximbank expects global trade to contract by 9.2% this year. The program is Business Express, reaching you from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. I am Benny Adams, your guide. The federal government has taxed banks and other financial institutions to explore Africa's market expansion enabled by AfCFTAs as operationalization starts January 2021. Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning Zainab Ahmed, who gave the advice, stressed the potential of Nigeria's market while speaking at the AfCFTA Strategy Workshop Series 2 on financial services and investment mobilization, themed Leveraging Nigeria's Financial Services Sector to Maximize the Gains of AfCFTA. Speaking, the Central Bank Governor Godwin Emefiele noted that one of the most important benefits of the AfCFTA to the Nigerian financial sector would be the removal of barriers for the expansion of financial institutions and services to other climes within the continent. Francis Anatogu, Secretary of the National Action Committee on the AfCFTA and Senior Special Assistant to the President on Public Sector Matters in the statement, said the session availed players in the banking and financial institutions an opportunity to identify areas of strength and streamline success strategies to enable Nigeria benefit maximally from the AfCFTA. Global trade is expected to contract by 9.2% this year, having fallen by 2.8% in 2019. Data from the Africa Export-Import Bank, Afrexim, indicates that Africa's share of global trade was 2.7% in 2019, below the 4% figure of the 1970s. Informal cross-border trade, which is a key component of intra-African trade, is widespread in its composition. The African Trade Report estimates that in Eastern Africa, ICBT is very high and could be worth as much as 80% of value of formal trade in some countries. South Africa was the biggest contributor to the intra-Africa trade, accounting for 23% of total trade in 2019. The biggest jump came from DRC, which became the second intra-African trading nation, accounting for 10.4% of total intra-Africa trade, and Nigeria was third with 7%. The continent remains overly dependent on export of raw commodities, with oil and gas accounting for over 37% of total exports. Afreximbank's Africa Commodity Index is down 20% year-on-year, but shows a V-shaped recovery from the lows of April. OPEC to increase production as prices of crude peak and gold on other hand is set for third straight weekly gain. Let's take a trip to the commodities markets and afterwards our discussion on food sufficiency. So much done by the federal government on food sufficiency, but the question is, what has been the impact? So today on the program, we will be looking at agriculture and the present demand for food and raw materials for agro-allied companies. Our guest is Professor Yahaya Kuta, an agriculture economist. He is joining us via Zoom. Professor, if you are with us, you are welcome to Business Express.
Benny, good afternoon, and good evening, good afternoon, viewers.
Thank you, Prof. Well, to start with, one of the popular slogans of the present administration in the last 5 years is that we must produce what we eat and eat what we produce, which has led to the closure of the Nigerian borders for some time now. Can you take us through the impact of this?
Thank you very much. We must commend President Muhammad Buhari for this laudable initiative of the slogan that he's championing on let's grow what we eat and eat what we grow. And that is extending to even made in Nigerian goods too. There's a popular campaign now for Nigerians to produce what they consume and also consume what they produce. So that is an element of patriotic consideration instead of Nigeria being a dumping ground for every good from everywhere. So the closure of Nigerian borders and the specific policy banning the importation of certain food items that we could produce now on, like rice particularly, is a good news for rice producers in Nigeria. And I'm telling you, the rice producers met in Mina recently, and so you can see the pyramids of rice that is not fiction, but practically demonstrated with the support of government. They have come up with a lot of products. In the near past, Benny, I can tell you that when government make political pronouncement, it's always there is no political will to enforce it. We have had series of bans on rice importation in the near past, but in the actual reality, it was not true. But now, the ban enforced by the government of President Muhammad Buhari is on course, and it is helping Nigerian rice producers and other products. They are doing very well. The farmers are smiling because the government has taken a measure so that they can have value for what they are producing. In the interim, many people are not aware, but government that decided to take the decision to close the Nigerian border is based on information, not only based on food production, but also security. You can see the proliferation of small arms into this country. Smuggling of arms across the border is a major threat to Nigerian security. So you have to consider your interest first before the interest of others. Those who are smuggling and bringing in things here is because they know Nigeria has the population. And where you have the population, you have the market. So everybody who is aware of producing a product know that Nigeria is the place to be. When you bring your goods here, the chances are that you are going to sell it because we have massive population. Over 200 million people is not a joke, it's a huge market. And that is why we always work for the unity of this country.
Okay, Prof. Talking about the huge market advantage Nigeria has got over some other African countries towards attainment of food security, we have seen from 2015 disbursement of 200 billion naira to more than 1.5 million small-scale farmers of different commodities through the Uncle Borrowers program, among other interventions. Is that not enough? Why do we have this perceived scarcity and high cost of food commodities today in the market?
Well, it is a function of application. You can make money available, but application is always the challenge. When some of these programs have been packaged, some professionals who are supposed to be part of the implementation are missing. And I want to correct it, I'm an agricultural extensionist, a development communication expert. We communicate and interact with the end users in the agricultural system. And that, in the agricultural system today, the extensionists are supposed to be the promoter and the link in all these interventions. They are missing. And World Bank is not foolish. When they came in the 80s to intervene in the Nigerian agricultural system, they knew the best way to achieve results is to establish a viable, potent agricultural extension system. Now, you are implementing this kind of program. Extension is missing. And I challenge all the authorities to know that since 1914, when the first Department of Agriculture established, there has been no policy on agricultural extension. And we in the agricultural extension professionals are calling on government to bring to the fore a policy program that will promote the activity of agricultural extension experts in the Nigerian agricultural system. So that program that I'm saying is because people are having a lot of doubt and question mark because extension is missing the implementation process. You cannot leave it to charlatans to do. So I'm telling you part of the challenges that we relate with the farmers. We show them the market. We show them the production process in the entire agricultural value chain. So I would call on all of us to bear in mind that we can only achieve the maximum result for the Nigerian agricultural system if we are entrenched in the system. And I'm calling on those who are concerned that we can address some of these issues. Even some of the holding that are going on is because of lack of information. The agricultural value chain is in need of extension professionals, and they are missing in every aspect of it. So let us call on everybody who is concerned. Those interventions will yield maximum result if extension professionals are involved at the implementation, not at the design and implementation stages. So I call on the government to take a look at the policy initiative that will take advantage of agricultural extension professionals. In the system that you find yourself, most of the initiatives, there is supposed to be a benchmark. There are standards in policy programs and implementation. We must abide by them. So when you talk about scarcity, it depends on where you are located. I can tell you, because of the COVID-19 challenges, we still had issues of people getting their products to the market. People could not move at a point. So many farmers lost their products. Some of them, we don't have guaranteed minimum price for production. Part of it, we should have backup for buying excess produced by farmers, so that when there is scarcity in the market, we have what we call buffer stock facility. I remember in Niger State sometime in the past, we used to have buffer stock facility that when you buy excess from the farmers during the period of festivity like Christmas, you release them to the market. During Salah festivities, you do the same. So that will be pushing the effect. But at a point, the farmers are better for it. In the near past, before Christmas, you would have seen a lot of smuggled product that will invalidate what the farmers have done in this country. So, but now, this is a wake-up call that we can address the issue if extension professionals are involved at every level. And I'm telling you, there's no university in the Nigerian system today. A college of agriculture, they don't have extension programs. They don't have extension professionals that are being churned out every day. They lack jobs. In fact, some of these programs, I'm telling you, they could be the feed vanguards of interfacing with the farmers, so the farmers can.
Okay, Prof. Yes. Okay, Prof. Look, in the period under review, more than 1.4 million hectares of arable farmland has been cultivated. Most of it is dependent on rain-fed agriculture. Is that the way to go? And also considering the fact that the rains last only 3 to 4 months in a year, coupled with the fact that support of extension services are not available for farmers the way it used to be in those days. What is the way out of this?
Thank you, Benny. I think in the last Agricultural Extension Society of Nigerian conference, one of I was the lead speaker, and the topic was on conservation of soil for maximization of agricultural productivity in Nigeria. And one of the issues I talked about was Nigeria cannot run away from climate change. Climate change is a reality in our nation. You cannot talk about agriculture without talking about climate smart agriculture anymore. We cannot be having flood when we could have fetched excess water, store it, and then use it at the right time. And that the rain-fed agriculture is inadequate to meet up with the domestic requirement for food. And that's why we need irrigation facilities. If you go to Kano State, for instance, the irrigation scheme impact upon by Audu Bako administration, the people of Kano will never forget him, because that is one of the cornerstone of Kano agricultural system at the moment. During this dry season, farmers are busy in their farms, producing vegetables and other crops, and they are busy all year round. You go to a village in Niger State, they call it Tunga Cow irrigation scheme. In this village, farmers grow rice 3 times a year. 3 times, and the economy of that community is very high. The farmers in that village at a point, NTA, you carried it, there was a ceremony where they had about 40 marriages in a day, simply because all the young people, they are busy in the farm, they are making a lot of money. So if you can look at what happened in Tunga Cow Irrigation Scheme in Niger State, it's a case study. I want you to visit there and see how farmers are busy all year round, producing rice 3 times in 3 cycles. That is the beautiful thing about irrigation agriculture. We cannot continue to depend on rainfed agriculture, whereby in some part of Nigeria, like the fringes of the northern part of the country, they don't have more than 3 months rainfall. By the time they are finishing, the rain is over. So we need to do something. We can create technologies that can harvest excess water during the rainy period, and then we use it during the dry spells. And
okay, Prof. Finally, yes. In existence now are initiatives like the Presidential Fertilizer Initiative, the Green Imperative Initiative. We have also the mechanization, the Textile Revival Scheme, and all of these other initiatives by the federal government to ensure that we move towards food sufficiency as well as exports. How can all of this be synergized to ensure we have the desired effect needed?
I think one of the missing links in government today is lack of development communication specialists to help this government drive its policy to the Senate of Excellence. This government is doing so much, but people are not aware. Like the fertilizer initiative is supposed to be celebrated in Nigeria because hitherto trailer laws will live on in Port Harcourt for some northern state or 10 trailers. Before you know it, before they get to their destination in Bauchi, the trailers have disappeared. Is it wind that carried it? They have been smuggled to Cameroon and other countries. But today, because of the fertilizer initiative, all the moribund fertilizer producing companies have been reactivated. Today, as I'm talking to you, Benny, a bag of fertilizer is no more than 5,500 because there is abundance of it, because everybody is producing in the factories. Either so, they will be selling it for 9,000 to 10,000 naira, which is unfortunate. Now you have fertilizer. Nobody is talking about it. You own the initiative, the policy initiative you talk about, the mechanization initiative. These are policies that are supposed to be in the front burner, and the only people that can drive it are the extension professionals. They can bring it to the front burner so that people can appreciate what this government is doing, so that we can collectively join hands and team up with government to achieve what we can achieve maximization of their intervention initiative.
Thank you so very much, Prof, for getting to share your thoughts with us on the way forward for smart agriculture practice and for us to attain food sufficiency despite all of the challenges.
I thank you very much for the opportunity, and NTA, I believe you can do more by giving experts to give their opinion and popularize what is happening so that people will know what is happening. And this is your initiative. I commend you, Benny, for this opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Prof. Moving on, the Debt Management Office this week offered a total of 60 billion naira at the federal government of Nigeria bond auction of December 2020. The offer was oversubscribed as total bids received were 134.056 billion naira, indicating a subscription level of over 220%, though the rates of 6.945% and 7% for the 15-year and 25-year FGN bonds were higher than the rates of 5% and 5.785% at the last auction. The rates reflect the level of interest rates in the market, influenced in part by monetary policy actions. The Securities and Exchange Commission, Nigeria, and Financial Sector Deepening Africa have announced the start of a joint review of Nigeria's 10-year capital markets master plan to support the country's economic resilience amid new economic challenges, including lower oil prices and the COVID-19 pandemic. The review of the CMMP will see SEC Nigeria work with FSD Africa's regulator support program to develop a revised 10-year 20mm that will strengthen Nigeria's capital market and other capacity for capital mobilization, which provides a vision for Nigeria's capital market as well as a roadmap with objectives to meet it. The process will involve an assessment of progress made since the plan's implementation to date and engaging with stakeholders for input. FSD Africa's support comes as part of its ongoing multi-country program to strengthen Africa's capital markets. The program is centered on the development of capital markets master plans, conducting institutional capacity assessments, and creating capacity for sustainable finance, such as green bonds, helping markets to adapt to their operating climate. Nigeria's stock exchange continued its strong bullish run Friday, a day after all-share index reached a new high above 36,000 basis points. At the close of trade this Friday, the all-share index added 1.56% to end the week strongly at 36,804.75 basis points. Market capitalization also rose to 19.236 trillion naira. 426 million shares valued at 4.362 billion naira traded in 4,298 deals. Nigerian Insurance, with a whooping 130 million shares, topped activities and was followed by GT Bank and Mansard Insurance. European stocks this Friday inched up as U.S. equity futures struggle with Brexit and stimulus talks in the spotlight. Boseriable has a summary of global market activities.
U.S. stock futures were little changed early Friday after the major averages closed at new all-time highs. Futures contrasts tied to the Dow Jones Industrial Average indicated an opening loss of less than 15 points. S&P 500 futures and Nasdaq 100 futures were also nearly flat. Shares in Asia Pacific were mostly lower on Friday as investors reacted to developments from the Bank of Japan. Nikkei dipped 0.16% to close at 26,763.39. Shanghai Composite lost 0.29% to 3,394.9, and the Hang Seng Index also declined about 1% as of its final hour of trading. European markets were mixed on Friday morning as British and European leaders strike pessimistic tones about the prospect of agreeing to a post-Brexit trade deal. For Africa stocks, Tunisia's Tunidex, Ghana's GSE Composite and Nairobi's all-share posted gains, while South Africa's JSE Africa Top 40 and Namibia's overall index depreciated. Bosede Able, Business Express.
Post-COVID-19, Minister of State Petroleum Resources, Temipri Silva, says we'll see the oil and gas industry shifting towards cleaner energy resources while focusing on natural gas as transition. Silva, who joined the 13th International Association for Energy Economics Conference, virtually say if successful, the industry will never be the same again. Lydia Sampson reports.
COVID-19 pushed the global energy industry to a critical stage. OPEC, in a bid to rebalance the global market, came up with unprecedented production cuts. Temipri Silva said, though the global economy will recover, demand will remain low.
The post-COVID-19 world will see the oil and gas industry accelerate its transition towards cleaner energy sources, products and service delivery with clear paradigm shift from its traditional business models. The future survival and success of many players in the industry depend not only on their achieving greater focus on cleaner energy source, but also upon an ability to deliver lower cost solutions.
Professor Yinka Omorubi, President, Nigeria Association of Energy Economists, says Nigeria stands at a critical moment as a petroleum-dependent country as the COVID-19 pandemic has compounded the nation's energy economies.
As a petroleum-dependent country which has remained bedeviled by the resource curse, unable to even make any lasting changes to a legal and institutional structure that all agree is detrimental to the sustainable development of its citizens, Without proper strategic planning, it could end up being one of the most negatively impacted nations.
Various paper presentations called for a proactive synergy to help the nation remain afloat as the International Monetary Fund predicts that the world GDP will shrink by 6%.
This is where we end this edition of Business Express. Be informed that these and all previous episodes are available on YouTube on NTA's channel. You can also communicate with us on Twitter. The handle is NTA News Now and the hashtag is BizX. Business Express returns Monday. Until then, please stay safe.